Hello, can you hear me?
Hey DJ, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. What's going on, brother?
Give me a second, my headphone is not working. One
Yeah,
moment.
no, take your time.
So, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. You got me?
Yeah, I got you. My headphone is still not working. Am I echoing right now? Do you
No,
hear
not at
yourself?
all. That's what I actually love about Zoom. With every other streaming app, yeah, I've got to use headphones because if the sound coming through my speakers gets picked up by the microphone, then you get this crazy echoing. But Zoom, for whatever reason, takes the audio like right from the feed, and it never feeds back. So I never have to use headphones, and yeah, it works out really good.
Okay, so I guess that will work for now.
Yeah, yeah, we're good. How you been?
Uh, Pretty good, DJ. My school has started, so I'm quite busy right now.
School,
Uh,
yeah, school has started. Yeah, is that right? What are you getting a degree, another degree? What are you doing?
I'm finishing my computer science degree, so
Okay, all right. If you need any help, you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. I can
for sure I will reach out, DJ. Appreciate it.
get you some answers, if you get hung up on something.
I've heard you have some good contacts now, so I'll reach
I mean,
out.
honestly, that's what I do. When I have a question, people ask me questions. I'm like, oh yeah, hold on, I'll get right back to you on that. And I just reach out to like you or somebody else, and then I sound like a genius, right? Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I lost you. All right. All right. So we wanted to get on real quick and talk about this all nodes situation. And Mr. Jacob has been making quite a bit of noise all day long since this morning. Um, and I was reading some of the stuff that he put on Twitter, and then I saw that Venus started uh, a space, a Twitter space, and had invited him, and he was like, "Oh yeah, great, let's get on." And that space might still be going on. I don't know. It's been going on for a couple hours now.
I think they just closed the space. I think it's
Oh, they
done.
did wrap it up. It got to
Yeah.
the point where everybody was just kind of repeating themselves over and over, so I kind of bowed out. I think I had heard pretty much Jacob's point. I had heard what he had to say. I saw what what his kind of goal was, which we can talk about. And then it was pretty much the same argument coming back to him. So for anybody who's not familiar with what's happening, actually, let me see if I can share a screen. Give me a second. Let me get to the right one. Um, can you see this? Can you see what I've got up right now? The Twitter.
Yep. I just cannot read it because I'm on my phone, but I can see this.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, no worries. So I mean, this isn't even the first tweet that came out from him. Uh, the issue on the table is that at some point, I guess, Jacob discovered that all nodes has, or the CEO, I guess, is what we found out. The CEO of all nodes actually has access to the private keys of any validator node that they're hosting. Anyone that's running a validator node for LUNC that's being hosted by all nodes, they have access to the private keys. And in Jacob's determination, this is an imminent threat and a breach of security. And he is, not, sugarcoating it at all. He wants everyone who is delegated to anyone that has anything to do with all nodes that's being hosted by all nodes to not undelegate, because undelegating screws you for 21 days, right? But he wants everyone to redelegate to a validator that is not being hosted by all nodes. And he actually has put out a list of various validators, including his own. You, from what I was seeing, weren't, and correct me if I'm wrong, weren't necessarily disagreeing that the security risk is something that we should be concerned about, but maybe disagreeing with the way in which it was being put out there. Am I right?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I wrote he chose violence today. That's what
Oh,
I
I didn't
wrote.
even see that tweet. He did come out hard. He came out really hard. So yeah. So what do you how should he have come off then? What should he have done? Tell me what you think about this.
Well, I mean, I wasn't involved, so I'm not 100% sure what he did behind the scenes, like what sort of talks were being held between Allnodes and him, if any.
Yep.
The only thing I checked was the Validator Discord. There is a Terra Classic Validator Discord where you are probably also in, I guess.
I haven't. I am. I think I am there. But I never go in there.
Yeah, so I checked that, and for example, I couldn't find like any sort of real discussion about this stuff, for example, because that would be a good place to initiate a sort of public talk, right, where you give the other party the option to explain themselves. Because Twitter, it's like you have this 160 characters, and you can make a thread out of it. But I don't even think in the beginning he made a thread. There was like just a bunch of tweets, and yeah, I don't know. It just didn't seem fair to me the way he
Yeah, I
approached
started
it.
scrolling back trying to find, but I mean, he has tweeted so much today that I would be scrolling forever to find the initial tweets that I saw. But there was like a 5 or 6 part thing where he was spelling out this whole issue with them having the keys. Now, what is the fear as far as he's concerned? What is it that he's saying, or what is the potential danger to all nodes, or even just the CEO of all nodes having access to these keys?
Well, I think like I'm also not 100% into the tech here, but I
Yeah.
think from what I understand, chain hoard is one issue because they hold more than 33% of the voting power, right? So eventually they could cause the network to hoard. I think that's the worst thing. Technically, they could, if they were malicious, they could also vote on proposals, take away the self-bonding lunk from the clients that they have, right? So if I host with all nodes and I have self-delegation, I delegate, for example, 10 million lunk or 100 million to my own validator. The guy who holds the keys could take that away from me, right? That's another concern from what I got. Double signing might be another one, I think.
Right.
And eventually, the people that delegate with them, from what I understand, in an event of chain hold would also get slashed. So you would lose some of your funds.
Right. Yeah. Not
If I'm
everything.
correct.
Yeah.
That's what
Well,
he
yeah.
said.
The validator gets jailed, right? And you actually do lose. I heard that being actually explained to Anne when Anne had asked about the question. That you would actually lose, maybe not all. I'm not sure exactly how you go about recovering what you got, but you would absolutely lose some of your funds were that to happen. So we hear it all the time. I mean, we say it all the time, right? Never give anyone your keys. But we're talking about validator nodes who have access to, multiple delegators, right? So we're talking about the keys at a pretty high level. It is absolutely something that we should be aware of. And I don't think a lot of the community was aware of this. So kudos to Jake for putting it on the table and letting everyone know. But when people, it seemed in the Twitter space, when people were trying to get him to maybe talk about it in a more delicate way, so as not to panic the community. And I'm sure the fear is that people will panic and be like, "Oh, this lunk is so much trouble. There's one thing after another. I'm just out of here." Right? We seem to have those kind of events every once in a while, and this could potentially be one of them. And so that's why I think people were trying to get him to say it in a more delicate manner, but there was no getting him to say it in a more delicate manner. He was saying everyone absolutely. He said it. everyone should panic. You should panic. It's like DEFCON, 5 or whatever, right? You need to do this to rescue the chain. What I didn't hear was, and I'm not really taking a side one way or the other, right? I believe if there's a security risk that we absolutely should be aware of it, right? But what I didn't hear was that there was an imminent threat or an imminent concern, like maybe all nodes had made some overtures that they might do something nefarious or something that caused someone to worry, so that you would have to tell everybody, listen, get out and get out now, right? I didn't hear that. Did you?
No, I don't think so. It was more like, well, I mean, I get his point somehow because he's a very technical guy,
Right.
and in tech you have black and white, right? You have ones and zeros. So technically, he's right about it. It's an issue, um, and, and he also said the right thing to solve it immediately would be for everyone to redelegate and the compromised nodes. That's how he called it. And I mean, it's a technical term. It's correct, but it's also it has some bad vibes with it, right? You're compromised. You're
Well, yeah, it's it is a buzzword for sure. When you use the word compromised, we've
yeah.
all
So I think from his perspective, it's the right thing to do, right? So I don't think that he's seeing the other side. That there is actually people involved and they have feelings and whatever, and they panic, and that it causes like other problems at non-technical levels probably, which also affect the price, because his argument was you have all these big investors and they worry about this stuff, which is also true. But at the same time, you have, like Twitter and everybody tweeting about it, panicking. There will be spaces and nobody knows what to do. I don't know.
Well, I mean, the other side of it is you also have big investors who might be looking to get in, and then they look and they, see all these issues and everybody kind of going at each other, and they're like, oh, not yet. They're not ready for my investment yet. So I guess it really maybe could go both ways. It kind of depends. How I had another validator talk to me this morning and tell me basically that this has been the case with all nodes even before the depegging, even back when the validators for Luna, they've always had access to these keys. It's always been the deal. So if that's
Yeah, I mean, the issue is, the difference is that at that point in time, they didn't have this much voting power, right? They had like, I think 1% or 2% or something. So it was a security issue for the clients, right? That used the white labeling service, but it wasn't a huge issue or risk for the chain. But now that they have like 20% or 18% themselves and like 10, 12, 15% with the clients, it becomes a risk for the network. That's how I understand it.
Well, I heard Jacob say, and tell me if you heard it too, to confirm that I heard the right thing. I heard someone ask Jacob, so if they had, I think 33% was the number that he threw out, and if they have less than 33% voting power amongst everyone who they're hosting and whatever, right? If they had less than 33% total power, it would be something that we wouldn't have to panic about. Did you hear him say that?
Yeah, because then it's more a security risk for the clients and the people that delegate with those, but not imminently for the network,
All
because
right.
it wouldn't halt the network, I think. That's
All
how I
right.
understood.
So I just spoke with JAGMOT. I've had an open line of communication with JAGMOT. I don't talk to him every day. I probably don't even talk to him every week. Maybe once or twice a month, if that. But I've had an open line of communication with him since we were just learning who he was in the TR Discord, right?
Yeah, I
And
remember I introduced you guys, I think.
you've introduced me to a lot of people, and I appreciate that. Yeah. But yeah, I believe that you did. At the very least, you told me about him, and we reached out and we were chatting, and he and I were actually chatting about, because at the time, I had read the whole article about Konstantin Romanovsky, the CEO, and how he stuck up for the community against Do Kwon, did an interview, calling him some sort of dictator or whatever it was, right? And so I had reached out to JAGMOT and I said, listen, this is a guy that I would really love to chat with. I would really love to interview. And Jag was actually trying to facilitate that for me, right? It never really worked out. It never came to fruition. And then things changed and happened so fast that the questions that I wanted to ask, almost became irrelevant anyway. But Jag and I have kept in contact, and we talk now and then. And I just talked to him a little while ago, actually just before you and I kind of got on here. And this is what he told me. Hold on. Let me back up and find it. All nodes who says all nodes controls 40% of validators? We don't. It is less than 30%, is what he said. They could have asked us before what percent was, even a ballpark. Also in the document, I'm not sure what document he's referring to, but in some document, they said Orion is one of the all nodes validators. He says we don't run their infrastructure. So that was inaccurate. Let me see. Yeah, they don't run Orion, and altogether total they have less than 30%. So if that's now, I'm not sure. I think I also heard Jacob say that he wasn't sure exactly how much it was, but he, I maybe off the top of his head, when he's just looking at all of the people who are with all nodes, he just assumed that it was a certain percentage. Maybe he doesn't know, or maybe he has a difference of opinion, but JAGMOT's claiming it's under 30%. So where's the problem?
Yeah, I mean, you still have the problem, right? Because it's not good practice to have the keys of your customers, I guess. But right. I also talked to him, and he actually, I don't know if I should say this, but I will do anyways, because I think they're pretty open. I don't think it's an issue.
Yeah.
I told him, like, it's probably not an optimal solution, and he agreed. So I think if, and that's just an assumption that I make right now, but I think if they approached him, like they, as in Jacob and Notional, I think if they approached him in a appropriate way about it, and had a chat, they would probably find a solution to make all nodes business practice handling the keys better. That for example, there is I asked Jacob in the space, is there a solution, and he basically said yes.
Yeah,
they could change the way
he does have some solutions, right?
Yeah, but I mean, the imminent solution for him is for everybody to basically run their own node. But I don't think everybody wants to run their own hardware, right? Even though it would be very decentralized and better. But you could also, if you were all nodes, build a zero knowledge infrastructure so that you get to hand out validators to your clients without you actually ever having knowledge about their keys. It's technically possible somehow, I believe. I think Jacob also said, but I don't think that they approach it this way, because this way it's just like, don't be a customer of our nodes, basically, the way I understand.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm all right. So I kind of misworded that. I'm not saying that it's not a problem at all. It's something that I'm very glad, and we should all be very glad that Jacob brought up, because again, most of us probably never really knew this, right? A lot of people did know it. It's conversations that have been had before, but as far as the community goes, we didn't really know, right? And we'd like to know things. What I'm saying is, if even as Jacob says, it's less than 33%, and Jag is telling me that it's less than 30%, and I even confirmed with them, I said, so all nodes and every validator hosted by all nodes totals up to 30% or less. He says, definitely less than 30%. So all I guess I'm saying is that as long as it's under 33%, according to Jacob, maybe it's not a DEFCON 3 kind of condition. It's not a, you know, an imminent, you know, everybody needs to get the hell out of there right away. Maybe we have time to kind of say, stay where you are, and we are going to work on this, and you know, with all nodes, and try to figure out a solution and see if we can't fix things, right? I mean, wouldn't that be more, I don't know, wouldn't that be more prudent than telling everyone panic and run?
Yeah, I think that was what I tried to say also. Like that's my point. I don't think all nodes, with all they did for us, deserve this sort of treatment in public. That was my whole point. Because
Yeah.
I mean, you and I also have been chatting with JAGMOT, and they have been very accessible. So I cannot see why they would like not respond and ignore the issue completely, as the way it was stated. I cannot believe this. You know, it's a little bit.
Another thing that JAGMOT offered is that he says we are raising commissions again to help lower our delegations and help centralize the chain. So I don't know if that was anything that was well known. I didn't know about it until he just told it to me.
Oh yeah, they made a tweet about it like
Yeah, they did.
2 weeks ago.
Okay.
They said
Yeah.
they're going to raise it to like 10%, I think.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, you know, there are arguments on both sides of that too. You know, the 0% commission, 5-10%, whatever, right? But that's their thing, is that they can lower delegations and help centralize if they raise commissions. I don't know. I guess excuse me. I guess I kind of look at it like this. I don't know. All right, I go to my credit union, right? I have a bank, I have a credit union. And I pull up to the drive-through, and the person comes over the speaker, the teller, or whatever you want to call it, right? The bank teller. And they ask me for my account number, right? Which is, a simple 6-digit number. I give them the number, and they can type in, and they're right in my account, right? It doesn't take, there's no other security measures or anything. They type in those 6 numbers, and boom, they can see my entire account. They can move stuff around for me from account to account. They have access to all that, right? So if we're going to play the what if thing, well, what if some bad teller one day, as I drove off, said, look at all the money in that account, and started moving things around? It could happen, right? They could do that, okay? I use, for my cell phone service, I use Verizon, right? And if I go into the Verizon store, I give them my phone number, they punch it into their computer, and they have access to my entire account. I can buy things, sell things, they can look at all the receipts, they can look at everything on my account, right? So what if when I leave, they're still in my account, and some bad guy that that works in the store says, I'm going to buy a couple phones on this guy's account, and he'll never know it was me, right? I mean, these things could happen. There's a lot of things out there that could happen, but we trust the organizations and the companies that we deal with who have a reputation, right? You just have to have a certain amount of trust. And like you just said, All Nodes has done a lot for the community even before we were Lunk. I mean, they were battling against, they were battling for the community, on the side of the community, at the risk of, maybe getting in a little bit of trouble, right? On that side when it was Dokwan. And they have, to my knowledge, never done anything nefarious or that even appears to be nefarious. So if they're under 30% right now, and they have the reputation that they have, do we really need to panic? Is that the word really to use? I'm not comfortable with that.
Yeah, I agree with that. But on the other hand, I get Jacob's concern, because look,
Yeah,
the bank account, the example you made about the bank account, blockchains shouldn't be like this, right? So we want to be permissionless and trustless. We don't want to trust anybody, technically. I want to bring another example. Jacob actually explained something that's not possible, unfortunately, in Cosmos. which basically means, for example, if I rent out a server in a data center, right? I have one virtual server running somewhere. I used to have a dedicated one. And when you rent it, initially you get an admin login to your own server, right? Where you can log in with the username and password. And initially, the provider knows your login, and they tell you, at least at that provider it works like this, they tell you to change it so that they have no knowledge anymore about your logins, and then they cannot access your machine even if they wanted to. And something like that is not possible on Cosmos, apparently. So what it would mean that all nodes could like technically provide a temporary key or something to set it up, and then tell those guys to Jacob mentioned the right word for it, but I forgot, like that you can change the key, like transfer it to another one, basically.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's something that's not possible. So that would be an easy solution if that was there.
I think I saw something about rotating keys or something like that.
Exactly, key rotation.
Yeah,
Key
yeah,
rotation was the word he used.
Yeah.
So that's not there, unfortunately. But technically, if all nodes like changed the way they deploy the machines, I asked Jacob, and he said, technically, if all nodes did changes to the way they deploy, there would be some way where they could basically set up a machine without knowing the key, right? Because then pretty much the same way you set up your own wallet on your phone, and you only know the key and the backend service doesn't know, like in a zero trust, zero knowledge environment. But that would require all nodes to change their whole infrastructure or the backend of how they deploy the services, I guess. So it's not something they can do overnight anyways, right? But I would like to for Jacob to come and suggest something like that, as an alternative for clients that want to stay with our nodes, instead of telling everyone to like go away from them immediately, redelegate. If you're a client, move away.
Yeah.
That's my whole point. Like,
give me 1 second because I've got a message coming in that I just want to read. Okay. I as we're talking, I just got a message from JAGMOT. And I'll read it in a second, but I just wanted to make a point before I forgot it. This reminds me very much of the situation with Jared and Zaradar, right? Where talking about merge, and I don't there's another hot word, right? Where Jared put out a tweet saying it is not possible for these two chains to ever merge. And then Zaradar said, well, yeah, it is. Maybe, he doesn't have the knowledge of, an L1 dev or whatever, but yeah, it can't happen, blah, blah, blah. Right. So you've got two people that you absolutely respect. And, for all intents and purposes are more educated and maybe intelligent than any of us are in this area, who absolutely disagree with each other. Right. So Jacob is saying that, it can be done this way, it can be done that way. But, something Jag told me earlier, and then he may be correcting it now, I don't know. He said there are some good points, right? Talking about what Jacob has said. He says it would be ideal that we didn't have any private keys. My understanding is that it is not possible, right? So, again, you got on one side, you got him saying it's actually not possible to do that. And then on the other side, you got Jacob saying, well, yeah, I've got some ideas of how you could do it. Now, let me read to you what just came in. He says, okay, it is possible to host a LUNC validator on our site without giving private keys, but that requires the validator to initially set it up and then just move hosting. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it makes sense. So basically, they create a local one, and then they own the keys. Then I think they switch to Arnold's infrastructure. Is that what you say?
Well, yeah. He another one just came through. He says if they don't have the technical skills to set it up, and we set it up for them, then we need their keys, from my understanding. So this is the word I'm getting on the spot. That they can do it They can do it without the keys, but if they don't know how to do it, and all nodes has to do it, they need to have they need to know what those keys are.
Yeah,
So what do
makes
we
sense.
do? You know, how do you fix it? You know, I don't know. I guess you don't either.
Yeah, I mean, the question is if you have like a decent enough hardware to run a local node, which isn't probably decent enough to validate on the mainnet. Maybe it could work, because setting up the validator isn't that hard, but it, you know, some of the people may not have the knowledge, and for them it becomes an issue, I guess.
Yeah, and then if all nodes has to step in and do it for you, then they're gonna have access to the keys. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's like, you know, if you know, somebody, a friend of mine or something wanted to, you know, they never did anything with crypto before, and they wanted to set up a wallet, right? And they didn't know how to go about it. And I guess if I did it for them, I'm gonna see those keys, right? I guess that's pretty much what he's saying.
Yeah, pretty much. That's it, I think.
Yeah.
You're right.
I don't know. So yeah, you know, the issue was brought up. It's on the table now. Everyone's aware of it. It would be wonderful if Jacob or somebody can find a solution, and it's something that they can do to nullify this potential threat, right? You know, you want to say, oh, I trust this one, I trust that one, but you know, I think we've learned that I guess maybe you never can tell, and that's the safest way to actually be when you're dealing with your own money, right? Is to just be extra cautious. So it would be wonderful if we can find a way. I don't know if we can find a way. Hopefully, Jag. So you know, Jag did say that he was going to talk to some people internally, and he actually did want to come on this channel and speak with me about this, right? And you know, if you're around, LL, I will certainly invite you on as well, unless he just wants to do a me and him thing. But you know, and let's hope that something like that happens soon, so maybe we can get some more answers. But anyway, I really just wanted to get the information out to everyone. You know, you kind of have to make up your own mind at this point. There is a potential issue. You know, it's not 100% that all nodes would never do anything or no one else could ever get access. Bottom line is someone else has access to the keys of the validator that you may be delegated with. And you know, it's kind of up to individuals as to whether they think that maybe just to be safe, they want to redelegate to someone else, in which case, again, there is a list out there put out by Jacob. Or if you want to say, well, you know, all nodes hasn't done me wrong all this time, let's just hang out and see if they you know, if they get this straightened out for us. It's your money, you know what I mean? You've got to make that decision for yourself. I'm talking to every individual out there who's listening.
Yeah, makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, well, don't say you guess.
Yeah, I mean,
if it doesn't make sense, tell me.
No, I mean, if they look, if they had confirmed more than 33%, it would be an imminent risk, right?
Right.
If they're below, I think there is some time frame in which our nodes can find a solution, right? And
Yeah.
maybe do better practices, and then migrate each of their clients one by one, you know, like then you know, maybe that's better than everybody panicking right now, in my opinion. I don't know.
Well, again, you know, all I can tell you is the information that I got, and JAGMOT confirmed for me twice that they are absolutely below 30%. That was the word from the man, right? So, you know, that's all I can do is bring you the information that I'm getting from these guys. Anyway, there was something else I was going to say, and I can't think of what the hell it was. I don't know. Anyway, all right. So, you know, we'll see what happens from here out. I'm sure the conversation will continue. Jacob has his feelings on it, and he's making them known. And I know what I wanted to say. You know, for anybody who recognizes that name, Jacob Kadikian, he is the leader of Notional Labs, and he is the only other full-time member of the L1 task force. And from what I understand, you know, he actually splits that salary with, you know, his whole team or whatever, but that's irrelevant. Actually, what I wanted to say is everyone who's on that team, nobody has like some sort of contract or some sort of, you know, code of conduct kind of thing, right? Anybody can say or do anything they want to do outside of that team. It's absolutely Jacob's prerogative if he wants to bring this to the attention of everybody. It's absolutely his prerogative to take a hard stance on it the way he has. He can absolutely do that, just like Zaradar could do that, or Ed could do that, or Till could do that. Anybody can do that, and it is not, do not make the mistake of putting this back on somehow the L1 task force said this or the L1 task force said that. No, it's two totally separate things. This is what Jacob is bringing to the community of his own volition, right? And it has absolutely nothing to do with the work that he's doing on the task force. So I know that people have already started to conflate the two, and I just want to specify for you that don't conflate the two because they're two totally separate things. Also, what I wanted to mention is that if you just scroll through his feed, his Twitter feed, you know, there are people have already decided that, you know, they don't like what he's saying, and so now they're out trying to seek, you know, what can I find in this guy's background to slander him or to, you know, decredit him or whatever, right? It's unbelievable that we are still doing this. Okay, what, you know, whatever anybody's past was or whatever. You know, I guess to a degree, you know, maybe people might be concerned about it, but as soon as somebody says something you don't like, for you to go and try to dig in their past and try to find something where you can discredit them and shame them and whatever, man, I'm just not with it. I'm just not with it. I don't like that idea at all. So somebody came up with something about, you know, when he was in Cambodia or whatever, he stole a truck or whatever, but they cut out a piece of it and did not show the whole story. We have no idea what the background story was or what sometimes the headlines are salacious, but if you read the story, you find out it's nothing compared to what the headline suggested it was. And they didn't show us all that. So to be fair, just ignore it when you see things like that. Honestly, just, you know, it's ridiculous that we're getting to that level. And I had hoped that we had left that back in 2022, but apparently some people are trying to drag it into 2023.
Yeah, I agree with that. Especially, I want to say that because maybe it wasn't clear. I appreciate Jacob coming forward with this, right? He also did that in the past in the Kujira community, and he didn't make lots of friends for bringing up that part of their chain isn't open source right now, and some other issues. So that's just his character, you know. I think he saw an issue and he wanted to make it public and everybody aware. Even though I don't agree with the way he did it, I appreciate him doing it.
Yeah, no,
Actually.
I appreciate it too. I really do, and I hope that it didn't come out. You know, again, I may have had a different way of really coming across it and maybe a different perspective on it. But I appreciate if there's information like this out there that the community needs to know, then I appreciate anybody who brings that information out so that we know about it. Again, yeah, maybe I would have done it a different way. Maybe you would have done it a different way, but Jacob is Jacob, right? And we have to appreciate him for who he is and know that I don't think that he's telling everybody to panic so that he can crash the chain and freak everybody out. Okay. I think that he genuinely believes this is serious enough that, you know, sensitive people be damned. I've got to get this information out there. I need you to know how serious this is. Not only that, but by sugarcoating it and tiptoeing around it and having this conversation, that conversation, sometimes when you do that, problems linger, right? Sometimes you have to really get aggressive with things before they are really taken seriously and actions are taking place. Now, All Nodes has known about this for a while, and they haven't done really anything about it. Haven't even been concerned, to a degree, that we know about it, right? But since Jacob brought this up, now they're in the background. They're talking about it. They're talking about it internally. How do we make this right? You know what I mean? So what he did was a good thing. I don't necessarily agree with maybe the way he did it, but did it need to be done? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I agree. I would also be looking forward to hear like opinions from the other people in the task force, like Zarada, Edward Kim. Maybe they have ideas how it could be improved on All Nodes side. I don't know.
Well, and again, so it's nice to say I would like to hear the opinions of Ed or Zarada or people that we trust, but tying it to I really want to just take that away from the task force. I don't really even want to put those two things together, right? Because it's not really a task force thing right now. It might
No,
might
it
be.
isn't. It was just my personal opinion on this.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. I mean, I would love to hear their opinions on it too, but not from the aspect of because they're task force, just because they're guys that are pretty knowledgeable, So
Yeah, I thought maybe they have some ideas like how it could be solved on All Nodes side. Maybe Zarada has some ideas.
yeah. Well, I'm
Like-
sure we'll hear something eventually. I'm sure they're aware of it, and maybe the time to chime in isn't right now, right? So I don't know. They're careful about things like that, which I actually appreciate. All right, sir. Thank you very much for joining me today to chat with me about this. And I don't know, we'll keep an eye out and we'll see what happens. And if Jag actually gets clearance and is ready to come on and chat, and honestly, if he decides to go chat with somebody else too, I mean, it is what it is, right? But he did tell me that he would absolutely make an effort to come and chat with me. I think he might feel a little guilty because he made me feel like I was going to get to interview Constantine, and that didn't go down. So I think he feels like he owes me. So that's fine with me.
yeah,
all
let's
right.
hope you get him on.
Yeah. Anything before I leave? What's up?
No, actually, I think it was a pretty turbulent day. Never gets boring in our community, right?
Yeah, I know. What else is new? It was actually nice to see Jared was having a little discussion or dispute with somebody over on the Luna side that seemed to get a little heated. Even though he tried to temper it on Twitter, there was a tone, right? So it was actually refreshing for me to see that, it's not just over here. You get a bunch of guys together who are super, super intelligent. They're all alphas in their field, and you're going to have these skirmishes, it's going to happen. So that's fine.
I've heard it's all over the Cosmos, actually. On all other Cosmos chains, it's
Is that right?
known for drama, apparently.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we fight with family, man. That's just how it is, right? The fighting isn't the problem. How we come back together, how we shake hands and come back together and try to reach consensus or reach, some sort of conclusion. That's what builds character, and that's what you really need to look at in people. Are they able to do that, or do they just want to hold on to their anger and animosity and hold on to their point, and everybody needs to conform? These are the character things that I talk about, and that's kind of the stuff that I look for. So far, we've done pretty good. I think we're still on a good track, and I'm bullish on Lunk.
Yeah, me too, man. But you know this, I've been bullish all the time.
Yeah, I know. All right, I appreciate you, brother. I will talk to you soon.
Thank you, man. Likewise.
All right, have a good night.
Good night.